Okay. You got music for us?
Let me get something from the. Adam, you let's go. If anything comes up, I'll check and get something from the files.
Okay. So see two people joining us. I see Mindy. Mindy, you're welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Happy to have you join us.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so we have on the call, as you might have already been aware, Scofray and Reb, and we are waiting for the others to join us shortly. So we're just welcoming people in as and when they join us. You mind telling us where you're joining us from?
Sure, I'm in Asheville.
Oh my goodness.
I hope we would get the name soon. I saw him earlier. I think it's gone off video. So just for some housekeeping rules, would like it if all of us have our mics off, but as and when we want to speak, we just go with the icons. You can raise your hand if it's a question to ask. If it's a contribution to make, you can also put it out there on the comment section and we'll read it out. If you don't want to speak and you still want to type out whatever question or comment you want, we will still take that and then read it out. Okay. All right, so it's exactly 5:33 in Ghana, and I suppose that would be 7:33 in France. And those in UK and US, I know we have some time difference, but happy to have all of you joining us. So this evening we have this International Emotional Intelligence Day, and in commemorating that, we thought that it's important for us to have a conversation that is dear to the heart of the topic itself and to professional practice across every industry and sphere of influence. The World Economic Forum, in their Future of Jobs report 2022, identified 10 skills that they said will be in high demand by the year 2025. In fact, if we want to categorize these 10 skills, we could narrow them down to 4, which would be problem solving, which will be self-management, will be working with people, and then technology usage and development. But among these 4 categories, again, if we want to narrow it down, you realize that 2 of them, one has to do with self-management, and then also the one that has to do with working with people will be narrowing down to what we may be speaking to as emotional intelligence, because the skill sets require the stress management, building trust, resilience. All of them may fall under emotional intelligence skills that are required. Now, in their report for 2022, actually they mentioned specifically that emotional intelligence would be one of the required skill sets for the years ahead. However, strangely, in their work, that is in the survey conducted by State of the Heart, in their 6 seconds emotional intelligence assessment, they observed that between the year 2019 and 2023, that has been a decline in emotional intelligence by 5.54%. Now, one of the questions we're asking ourselves generally is what could have accounted, or what is accounting for this decline in emotional intelligence, and we'll be exploring that. Also, for most people, when we talk about emotions, it's a big word for most people because they think about it negatively. We think generally that emotions are interruptive, they are disruptive, or they are distractive. However you want to look at them, especially on the negative side of emotions, and people have a lot of vibes about it. So we think that, oh, this person is making emotional decision. Oh, this person is being too emotional about something. We want to explore this evening. How useful are emotions in our decision making, if there is? And then we would go into other relevant conversation. But just before we go into that, I just want to introduce to us the two key persons who will be joining me for this conversation. And then along the way, we'll pick some of your thoughts across the room as well. So the first I would want to introduce to us is Scofray. Scofray is a transformational coach and presently the president of the Coaching Association in Ghana. The past 1 month to 3 months or 4, maybe I should say 4, Scofray has been running a campaign. I call it a campaign. I was telling him that he was literally running a campaign for coaching to be established and recognized as a system of practice for both professionals and also for the educational institution, how we can incorporate that in what we're doing. And I'm happy to have him on the call today also to speak to Scofray. You may want to tell us a little about yourself and what you do, just for the purpose of our audience. I know most of them know you, but yeah, it would be good to have a little more to hear about you.
Thank you very much, Edem. And it's a delight to have Mindy and Reb join us on such August discussion and World EI Day. So I am enthused when it comes to EI, especially the neuro bit of EI. It drives me, I won't say crazy, it gives me glimmers. So I'm careful because emotions do here, and you must pick them right for them to also evoke right. So you are right. Scofray basically is into executive coaching. I do corporate trainings and I do consulting services. My span of years is a combined almost 2 decades of experience. I'm very compassionate and passionate about human capital development, currently serving with the International Coaching Federation, Ghana chapter. Our quest is to make coaching accessible and available, and not only in Ghana, but actually in West Africa. So anything we do, we look at it from the African perspective. I am also committed to see personal life growth for myself. I cannot give to others what I don't have. So I consistently and continually invest in what I do so that I can serve people the best way that I can. So basically, this is the bit I can share about Scofray. Thank you, Edem.
All right, sure. Thank you, Scofray. I think we'll go straight into the conversation, and along the way, I would invite Reb in to also let us know what her thoughts are. Just before that, I mean, generally people feel stuck when it comes to conversations around emotions. I'm sure even when we posted this and people saw emotions, oh, what is it about emotion? What are they coming to talk about? You know, people have different kinds of vibes when we have to talk about emotions. People get stuck with relationships. Arguments escalate quickly when emotions are involved. Friendships feel one-sided. People feel misunderstood in their conversations. In the workplace, when there are conflicts, people will rather avoid difficult conversations because they think that once emotions are involved, they want to avoid it totally and not have any conversation about emotions. So at the center of the conversation we're having today is emotions. However, there are multiple kinds of intelligence, right? We talk about musical intelligence, linguistic intelligence. Largely, I mean, before emotional intelligence gained dominance, it's been IQ, and people talk about that. Why the growing interest in emotional intelligence?
Thank you very much, Edem. The growing trend in EI or EQ is as a result of human evolution. You know, when you look at the concept of our development, there was an era where we were so fixated with mechanization, where system must go through mass production. And in the novelty behind mass production is also basically a heady thing, logics, creativity. So human forgot at a certain spectrum of our industrialization and development that we are first emotional beings that can think. Rather, on the contrary, where we think we are thinking things that can have emotions. So that is where we missed out when there was this, after the World War I, World War II, mass production, we want to do industrialization, industrial revolution. We began missing out on being able to live our emotionality than just living all that we are to just our cognitive. So emotions, if you look at where we come from as multiple brain integration technique coaches, we come to understand that you are human being, not just a human thinking. So we have shifted from beings to doings. And anytime we shift to our doings, we lose so much of our humanity because we leave the essence to why we have emotions behind. Then we come to the world where we trick ourselves to say, oh, you know, in corporate world, don't bring emotion into this discussion. It is common. Whether you bring it or not, emotions were there before even your prefrontal cortex could develop. That is how come if you look at babies, they can still relate, yet they are in the hypnotic stage where nothing, their logics don't exist. They are now even growing it to like 7 years before it begins to kick in. Then by age 25, your prefrontal cortex, what is here, fully matures. So by the time you get to 25, how are babies communicating with their mothers? And remember, even communication starts from the womb. So by what means were babies communicating to mothers or communicating to their fathers outside the womb? It is through the gift of emotions. So the moment we started cutting that aspect of us off, not just that, but we submerged it, we kept it quiet. Then we began putting all our trust, our strength in only our head brains. Permit me, because when I'm speaking as an mBIT, I must be distinct with my languaging, because I know we have more than one brain. I must be distinct. So our viewers and our followers must pardon me. That is how I will be using this languaging. So this is where emotions come in. When you ask me what is emotions, I'll tell you that they are neurochemicals. And you don't choose the neurochemicals. None of us chose the neurochemicals that is in our body. We don't choose them. They are part of our beingness. These are neurochemicals that gets us to respond to stimuli in the face of threat, in the face of safety, and in the face of opportunities. If you dig deep, if you permit me to share a simple picture, Edem, if you pick a human being, if you pick the human being, we have made the mistake or to think that all that we are is the ability to think. But this is who we are in our embodiment. Edem, if you look at the communication that goes on in our body, the efferent which is from your head, your skull, to your body is only 20%. The afferent, which is, let's say, from your feet to your neckline, is 80%. So if you limit your beingness to only doing, you only have your skull. And when your skull, that we say in art, goes into your body 7 to 8 times, it means really you are not living to your full essence of being. You are only doing. So this is the basis that we say even communication, effectiveness, efficiency, collaboration, rather is from your feet to your neckline, 80% to your head brain, which to the cycle is 20%. So it makes it mission critical to understand that as a human being, you are more than you think. You are actually a holistic being with so much of possibilities with your emotions.
As a human being, you are more than you think, and I like the insight you shared with us with a picture as well. But just before we go further into this, I'm sure a lot of people will be asking that for the everyday person, when we use words and terms like emotional intelligence, that's like another jargon being thrown out there. People cannot relate to it. They cannot really understand what it is. How will you explain that to the everyday person? And why does it matter? Why is it important for us to be having conversations about emotional intelligence?
Adam, I think it's very important to have the conversation around emotional intelligence because, like I alluded to, you are a human being. You are not a human doing. So the human body is excited to keep on manifesting the best it is if you gain awareness or level of consciousness of what the human being is capable of. So for instance, people, like you say, don't even know what emotions are. Emotions are purely chemicals in your body that respond to stimuli. And it takes 6 seconds for emotion. That is where 6 seconds company got its name from. That the delay or the time your emotions emerges before you can label it as a feeling, it takes 6 seconds. That is how come they got their name 6 seconds out of it. Then your emotion regulate every living cell for you to adapt to emerging threats, safety, and opportunities. So if at this single even explanation, you realize that if you are an emotional being that can think, for that matter, your emotions are there for your good, for your interest, for your growth, for your exploration, for your power, for your dynamics, for all that there is, then indeed you will get to know that emotions, you are emotional being than all this while our nurturing, our academics, our schooling, our religion, and everything have made that to think that, oh, it is just a passing by thing. No, then it is your emotions that you get to label as feelings cognitively, that you're able to put a theme, a name, or a term to it. So when your emotion gets a name, it becomes a feeling. That is how we say, don't say you are your feelings. Your feelings are just a part of who you are. It does not give you the total you. Then it is the emotions and this feeling when they saturate more than it is required, where in a sense, Reb will add to that, like trauma, then it becomes mood because there is a mix of your feelings, there's a mix of your emotions, and now become reoccurring, where you are not able to decipher and regulate it better. Then it becomes a mood or becomes trauma. So it is important for us to know as human beings that one of the means we define who we are, one of the means we define who we are actually is through emotions. And emotions are part of the indices of our neurology. Because Adam, if you will permit me to share something, how we define emotional intelligence. This is how we define emotional intelligence in 6 ways. Please give me a moment if I can share this. This is how we define emotional intelligence in 6 ways.
All right, so if you're just joining us, my name is Edem Damanka, an HR consultant, and we're having a conversation this today being the International Emotional Intelligence Day, and we're focusing on the role of emotions in effective decision making. And we have joining us expert across the industry. Speaking presently is Scofray, who is a transformational coach, and he is sharing with us what he thinks emotional intelligence is all about for the understanding of the everyday man or woman.
Okay, so Adam, if you check from my screen, this is the summation we say emotional intelligence is. there's the summation. We say self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship management, work performance, people's performance. If you take these 6 components of EI and you place it in your neurology, neurology means what makes you function as a being, your emotions, your behaviors, how you work, all comes from that place. So emotions are not just anything at all. Emotions are part of your beingness. It defines actually who you are, what you can be, the best you can be, and everything. Then those of us from mBIT, we are saying that science have proven and established that you have more than one brain. It also means that because the head brain has a faculty called the limbic system where it can emote from there, we have burdened the brain to be performing all these tasks. We have burdened the brain to be doing all these things, whilst it is not just for that, because the headquarters of your emotions is actually your cardiac brain, your heart. That is the headquarters, that is the seat. Edem, haven't we had the issue where people go through relationship break and they go like, my chest hurts because my heart is broken. Yeah. Then that experience could give you headaches and everything. It's not because the emotion sits in your head, but it needs the consciousness to manifest it. There is also the bit where, haven't you, especially the ladies, when you are having menstrual cramps, can you check how it shifts your mood? The menstrual cramps, it shifts your mood. It means your emotions can be labeled as, say, I feel pains. And because it lasts for 7 days, it's now become a mood, like you get to have mood swings. So it actually means in the master's level of mBIT, there's something we call pelvic intelligence. And because you are going through menstruation, which is an activity or a function of your pelvis, it quickly changes your mood. It will change everything around you. So you see, if it is only the head brain that dictates emotions, why will menstrual cramps shift your behavior? Then your gut, you know, there is more serotonin. There is more serotonin in your gut than it is in your head. And serotonin also dictates your behavior, and behavior stems from your emotions. So it means that you need the awareness and the knowledge to be able to understand that there are certain times in your life, your emotions are not only coming from just your head because it has a limbic or amygdala faculties or the prefrontal or the hypothalamus. No, it also means that the serotonin, your microbiomes in the gut can all aid you to have a regulated emotion. And when you are so powerful, that is how come in our definition, in our neuro-emotional intelligence training, we say emotions are being wise, or emotional intelligence is being wise with your emotions ecologically. Why? You are a 3-brain being, so you need to be wise with the emotions with yourself. 2, you must co-regulate your emotions. It means a part of you to another individual. And that individual and yourself also live in an environment ecologically. That is why there is something we call Schumann resonance. The earth has got its own sound. And you know we are frequency beings. So it means the energy we radiate, the emotions we have are all like sound that goes back into the universe. So our collective emotions create that ecology. So basically, this is what I can say about the neurology of emotions.
Thank you so much, Scofray. Very insightful getting to know that emotions are one of the things that define us as part of our makeup, and we can't overlook it or ignore it. You talked also about mBIT. So I just want to bring in Reb. Reb, you're welcome. Happy to have you join us from France.
Thank you.
Okay, so you are an mBIT expert. You want to tell us a little about yourself just before we go into that?
Yeah, I'd be really happy to. So I'm originally British, but I'm living in France for the past few years. The same as Scofray, I'm an mBIT coach, which is multiple brain integration techniques, derived from the field of mBraining, having multiple brains, as Scofray beautifully told us. In addition to that, I'm an NLP master trainer. Some of you may have heard of neuro-linguistic programming. And I'm an occupational psychologist. I was trained as a psychotherapist and practiced for a number of years. I'm a former human resources professional. So the real golden thread running through all of those is it's always been about people. My interest and my passion is around what enables people to bring their best self, whether that's to work, to their personal life, to relationships. So that's really my sustaining passion.
Okay, that's great to hear. I mean, the first time I heard you, you work with machines, but I listening to you right now, you work so much with people. That's exciting to know. So I just want to find out from you, why is mBIT such a big deal when it comes to emotional intelligence and effective decision making?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I agree wholeheartedly with everything that Scofray said. Emotional intelligence is so important because for the past 150 years plus, the world has been somewhat obsessed with one of our intelligences, our head brain. And it's not that we should denigrate that. It's capable of a great deal. However, it's not the only source of intelligence in town. And whether it's with a managing board of an organization, whether it's decisions you may take as a family, whether it's a government in a country, if you told them, okay, there's some great intelligence and information here, if they turned around and said, yeah, but now let's ignore it or ignore that, you'd think that was somewhat foolhardy. So really the purpose of the book, mBraining, written in 2012 by Grant Suzalu and Marvin Oka, the purpose of that book was to highlight that we should be taking account of, as individuals, as organizations, as societies, all of our intelligences. And one of the things they said clearly is that all of these intelligences have differentiated competencies. So in other words, as Scofray's highlighted, our heads are 87 billion approximately neurons that are capable of great creativity, innovation, logic, thinking, comprehension, perception. And they're pretty poor at making emotional decisions or creating relationship, or in fact, even valuing and prioritizing. And equally, both our head and our heart brain, cardiac brain, as Scofray referred to it, are really useless at taking action. That's what our gut is for. It's also for our identity and for safety, security, self-preservation. So given that they have differentiated competencies, it's a bit like having a board of directors or non-executive directors. You would go to the one who has the relevant expertise to seek the information that they're expert in. But you wouldn't only listen to one of them. So the field of mBraining and us as mBIT coaches is very much about how do we take into account all of the relevant forms of expertise or competence, and how do we do that in a way that they can be aligned? And Scofray was brilliantly talking about the role of the cardiac brain. One of the jokes in the book mBraining, written by Suzalu and Oka, was that the heart isn't just a pump, a blood-filled pump. It is an amazing electrical blood-filled pump, but that's not its only role. It has a role in emotion, in relationship and relating with other people. It has a role in helping us decide what's most important to us. And the other crucial role of the heart, which is pivotal in emotional intelligence, is that it directionalizes all of our other intelligencing. So in other words, we can come up with, and those of you who've either worked as a coach or perhaps as a facilitator with other people, or maybe as a leader in your organization, if you've had all of the data, you've had facts, figures, statistics, many sources of information, you might make a decision, but if it's based only on the data, it may be one that you've actually come to regret or feel you could have reflected on further. If you make a heart directionalized decision, taking account of the data, it will be qualitatively different. And usually that means that your heart and your head will be that much more aligned. And if we then also take account of who we are, our identity, and also what we need to be safe to make that decision or resourced to make that decision, and what the first step might be, and the next step, what else we need to do to fulfill that and bring it to fruition, then it's likely to be a very aligned decision. The key thing about embraining is the purpose of having an aligned decision is so that it is, as Scofray said, wise, so that it is sustainable. There is so much, if we're talking sheer productivity, there is so much waste involved in making a decision in haste that we then have to go back and readdress or change tack. If only we take the time to make a wholly aligned, emotionally intelligent and wise decision in the first place, actually the rest falls into place. So that's really the point behind having our heart brain on board. And as Scofray said, emotions are signposts. If we try and pretend that emotions aren't going to be present, then again, we're being somewhat naive or foolish because they are present. But if we take account of what they're signposting to us, what they're signaling, that form of intelligence, we can take account of them. And often what we find is when we acknowledge those emotions and we take the learning from what they're there to tell us, then actually the decision usually becomes really clear and we can follow that path. So that's really my message around emotional intelligence from an mBIT perspective.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Reb. I heard you talking about how it is important in making aligned decisions, especially for managers and for leaders. And one of the questions I wanted to ask is for most leaders who probably may be listening to you or will be watching these afterwards, they may be asking themselves, how do we do this? How do we make this aligned decision? Especially, I mean, when over the years, their decisions have been dominantly informed by just the quantitative data probably that is presented to them, and they see the facts and they see the evidence maybe based on the data that's presented to them, and they are not so much focused on the intuitive part of themselves or the decision making. How do they do that now? Now they hear you for the first time, they see, oh, okay, it means that we need to be more than involved in this kind of decision making and not just focus on data. How do they do that? How should they do this?
That is an absolutely fantastic question, Edem. Getting right to the heart of how do we support each other, bring this to the wisdom that Scofray was talking about. And the good news is there are 3 relatively simple and straightforward ways. The first way, of course, is to use an expert mBIT coach, someone like Scofray, and there are 3,500 mBIT coaches certified around the world who can help leaders in that way. Secondly, they could buy themselves a copy of the mBraining book by 𝗘𝗺cie and Marvin Oka. You'll find it on all good bookstores online and elsewhere. And the third way is to consider that this is now multiply proven by science. It's been written about by a number of authors, not just 𝗘𝗺 and Oka. This actually isn't that new. It stretches back probably a couple of centuries. But leaders would be forgiven. I completely understand that they may have been focused on data, quantitative analysis, because that's what our modern world has really been feeding them a diet of. In actual fact, if first of all we look at some authors like 𝗪𝗺𝗲𝗱 and Adaptive Intelligence, Adaptive Leadership. Of their 11 core leadership competencies of being an effective and productive modern leader, 9 of them are related to emotional intelligence and working with other humans. That really tells us 9 out of 11 the proportion that we should be attending to our heart intelligence. So if they first of all consider what's important in this decision I'm going to make, who else is affected? How do I want to feel through making this decision? How do I want other people to feel? What am I feeling now, perhaps? What additional data do I need to make this decision? What other sources of information are there that I could consult or take in? Okay, taking all that on board, what's the first step? What's the next step? How am I going to measure success? And then come back to, if I discuss this with other people that are important in making this decision, what have they got to say? How do they feel about it? And really, it's then iterative. It's about going around that cycle to make sure that we've incorporated the intelligence from all of our intelligence centers. In other words, our nervous system, our brains.
Okay, thank you, Reb. Scofray, I'll come back to you shortly. So, Reb, I've been listening to you, and I'm whilst you were talking, I'm just trying to listen to some of the CEOs I've talked to as well, and I can hear them screaming, "Oh no, you know what? We are not running a charity, and we can't be working based on unconditional love. There is the bottom line and the top line to achieve, and we can be so much involved and entangled with issues of emotions, you know." So how do you convince, I see you talked about the fact that in making those decisions, you want to think about what is important to you, who else is it important to, and for them, most of the time they'll tell you, well, it's important to my stakeholders and shareholders, right? So they would want to take a decision, and where I see this, where I'm speaking from as an HR, I see most of the time decisions have to be made. And for most CEOs, they would be readily dismissive of the emotions involved and take a decision which they think that eventually would be in the interest of the bottom line and the top line, rather than, I mean, yeah, people may be emotionally down and all of that, but that wouldn't be the major focus for them in those decisions. You're saying they should think about the emotional part of the decision, both their own and every other person involved. That's not what actually happens right now. How convincing can that be?
I completely commend the CEOs for having an eye on being as effective and productive as they can possibly be, because that's probably one of the things that their performance is mainly measured on. The great news for them is they don't actually have to rely on me persuading them. They just need to look at the single most profitable, effective, productive organizations in the world and look at, well, what are they doing? This is behavioral modeling. This is, let's see what we can copy from the organizations that are absolutely nailing it out there in the world, profit-wise. And those organizations are actually focusing on their people, on making emotionally intelligent decisions, because that actually leads to greater engagement from employees. It leads to greater creativity from employees. It leads to greater productivity from employees. It leads to organizations that waste less and make more. So realistically, if they want to ensure that they are in the cadre of absolutely top flight, world beating organizations and the CEOs that are seen as responsible for that, then the path forward is relatively clear. They just need to copy best practice and those that are already achieving that. And that means they need to start from emotional intelligence, because it really pays dividends, both literally and metaphorically.
All right, thank you. Thank you, very insightful. Scofray, come back to you. We've been talking to Reb for a while now. Very insightful presentations and content. I just want to find out from you, Scofray. Let's go to the family. emotions, families. Especially men will rather avoid having conversations when emotions are high. I mean, we've read books and people have gone to conferences and summits, and maybe most men will be told that, okay, when the emotions are high, just walk out. So most men have learned to walk away from home. And you talk to the women, they will tell you that those are the times really that they would have wished that the man is staying, because they worried where he's going to, is he going to come back? Both men and women get involved in emotions. In Ghana, most of the time, men will be dismissive. Well, that was, oh, women are more emotional. But women will tell you, when you see a man in the traffic and another man is trying to cross, maybe that may not be the situation in most countries, but Ghana, you may have a situation where another person may try to cross you in the traffic, and you would see tempers going high, people insulting each other. I remember just yesterday, I was in an Uber, and one man tried to overtake the Uber driver that I was with, and only for him to realize that the person that was trying to overtake him is an elder in his church. And he was about insulting the person, only to tend to realize that, oh, that is his elder at church, at the religious organization. Now, the question is, how should we manage our emotions in effective decision-making in the home? Scofray.
Adam, once again, permit me to put something on our share, because sometimes people reflect from what they see. This that you see on the screen, or that is on the screen, is a research that was done in the university in Finland, where they put human beings through certain tests, MRI, to check where emotions sit in our body. So the smaller images are for kids, the larger ones are adults. So the question you are asking me is, when we were growing up and where we are now, how many of us were made or were nurtured to understand that emotions are on our side than it is against us? That is the fundamental one. If you also look at this is why we wrote or designed the Neuro-Emotional Intelligence training at 𝗘𝗺 Global Consult, because when people are able to have insight to where emotions sit in their body, then you become aware, because awareness is important for growth. It is important for manifestation. So how do we raise our sons? If you look at the original way kids or boys were raised, we are raised as hunters. We are raised as always not at home. Then when the period of conquering land, conquering spaces, farming, running away from difficult leaders, so men started taking the front line, where we only were exercising only one aspect of our emotions. For instance, anger. So now when you mention emotion, the first thing anybody wants to call is anger, as if it is negative. But in actual sense, it is only bringing a certain message to us. Because when your values are violated, when your principles are violated, when your love is belittled, when your voice is couched into submission, it is through anger your body wants to protect. But because we are not raised and nurtured in a way that we know how to protest, we rather put all the effort in the protestation than the knowledge and the wisdom that said emotion is bringing to us. Then if you come to our part of the world, right from babyhood, you the boy, you are not allowed to cry. But if you study babies, do you know the mothers here and fathers who have been part of raising kids, you realize that when a child is hungry, there is a way they scream. That child, if that child is having constipation, there is also the way they scream. If that child is craving for bonding with mother or father, there is also a way they scream. At that baby stage, they are still not even cognitive inclined. yet they still can speak. They still can make themselves heard. So why then is that when they begin to move from the toddler state to somewhere around 3, 2, 4, 5, a boy should not cry. As you are a man, you shouldn't cry. Then we start putting limitations on the messages that, or the insights that emotions are to bring to our attention. And then let me bring you to statistics. There are more men in prison, true or false? There are more men committing suicide, true or false? There are more men who abuse substances, true or false? There are more men engaged in domestic-based violence, true or false? These are true. It is not because the men are evil. It is we have raised them like robots. We have raised them like robots that they shouldn't feel. They should only be cognitive. And because emotions are part and parcel, we are emotional beings that can think. These are the avenues a lot of men want to use to demonstrate all these stuck emotions that are not allowed, that are capped, that are mitigated. Then look at what we say about women. Oh, women are emotional beings, to which that even they may not even be cognitive inclined. But it is not so. If you look at the physiology of the man and the woman, the differences are not so vast. But because of our uniqueness, for us to demonstrate who we are differently, because there is power in the yin yang, you know, the feminine and the masculine energy are one actually that manifest a bit differently. So in the homes, the challenge is the father raising the child. What is his knowledge about emotions? The mother that incubates the child, that takes the seed and nourishes the child, what is her insight about emotions? If they all don't know or don't have a deeper insight about emotion, then the result is where people use a certain thinking, a certain ideal statement to say, oh, when there is issue, you work out here and there. But in homes where you are nurtured to explore the power and the beauty of your emotions, we all grow and fester better. Edem, recently, I think 𝗘𝗺cie𝗁𝗶𝗹𝗶, the CEO of 𝗪cie Clinic or 𝗪cie Hospital, wrote something beautiful because he's a CEO. He said that he started finding funny, finding some even bodily pains. He was so much stressed. Do you know unattended emotions can create physical pain in your body? Unattended to emotion can create physical pain in any part of your body, cause psychogenic pain or somatic inversions and all that, as they call it. So then it means that because we have neglected a part of our beingness, we want to use just cognitive to address what emotion is, instead of using the insight of our emotion. So it is one of my greatest challenges is even how we moderate emotional intelligence training. We make it like one of the trainings that must be flip-flop and it passed. So for us at Zoe Global Consult, our neuro-emotional intelligence rate, guess what we do? Because emotional intelligence or emotions is training, is transformative, or it is embodiment. You must embody the insight that is coming. So for us, we use 7 days to prepare our participants. Give you little snippet, little exercises, begin to monitor your mood, begin to monitor your emotions, check even your food, check even what you are drinking, gradually, until you come to the 2-day dedicated training also. And when we are done, 3 months later, we come back to do top-up, to do a follow-up to it. So emotions are transformative and an embodying faculty of human beings. It's not just a check-the-box kind of thing.
Thank you, Scofray. If you're just joining us, we've been having a conversation on emotional intelligence, how our emotions can help in making effective decision making. We're about 10 minutes to wrapping up, and I know the conversation is getting interesting and would have wished for more. But just want to find out from you, in your submission and in Reb's submission earlier on, you were talking about neuro-emotional intelligence. How different is this from the emotional intelligence we've been talking about all along. And what shows that it's not just one of those buzzwords, that is being thrown at all of us, and for some people, it's just a technical jargon. How different is it from the whole conversation around emotional intelligence?
Thank you, Adam. The word intelligence is basically becoming aware or becoming knowledgeable about something. So becoming knowledgeable or becoming aware of emotions, that is emotional intelligence. Then the neuro prefix is saying not just becoming aware on the cognitive level, but becoming aware in the embodiment so that you can even appreciate. Let's say if you begin to have, let's say, backaches, and you can trace it to maybe you have not done any hard work, but some burnout from the office, some burnout from the home, some burnout and stuff. If you are neurologically knowledgeable, you're not supposed to become a scientist, but you have the insight that when you don't attend to emotions or stress or burnout, it can block in your wrist, your elbow, your back pain, your chest cavity, your pelvic, your knee, your waist. That is where we bring the prefix of neuro, meaning taking you into your body, taking you into the fundamentals of why you think and talk as a being. So that is where we bring in the mBIT aspect, that for you to utilize the knowledge of your emotions, you have two other additional brains. Edem, and I want to announce, it's so beautiful to know you only don't even have 3 brains. You have 2 additional intelligences, your autonomic nervous system and your pelvic intelligence. So it is in this neuro-emotional intelligence training that you can come to the awareness of all these powerful emotions the universe gave to you. Then it is neuro, because in neurology, you are not only talking about human body, you are talking about the universe as well, in the ecology, how you relate with others beyond just human beings. Because if you are a leader and the emotional current or the emotional frequency, others will say energy. If the emotional energy of your team is not safety for them to explore their creativity, it means they cannot grow. So it is in the neuro-emotional intelligence training, then you get to understand that there's even something called human resonance. And it is for our benefit. And it allows us to create ecosystem of powerful emotions. So this is what else the neuro brings to the discussion or the themes of emotional intelligence.
So
Reb, anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's Reb, we're inviting you in. Scofray is asking if there's something you want to add to that.
I think it's really that barring any biological accident or any disease or what have you, we're all born with a minimum of 3 brains. We're all born with a head brain, our neocortex inside our skull. We're all born with a heart. We're all born with a gut, which is a distributed neural network all the way through from our mouth all the way through. And therefore, if we don't take account of those, then we're operating from, by definition, a lesser set of intelligence. So if you said to the average CEO who was talking to the finance director, well, we haven't actually got all of the statistics or all of the records for the past couple of years, but we can kind of go by a couple of the weeks over the last 3 months. They would understandably think that that's insufficient. They would want more to go on. And that's really what we're advocating through neuro-emotional intelligence, through mBIT, mBraining. We're saying use all of the intelligence that's available to you and use it in a specific way that actually benefits you, benefits your staff, benefits the organization. And if we're talking in the home, benefits your family. It's an ecosystem that is a building block of society. So it's worth investing in.
Thank you very much. Just want to find out, is there a secret formula to this, Scofray and Reb? Is there a secret formula to this training?
Edem, there is no shortcut to your beings. There is no shortcut.
Okay. So if I may ask, I mean, the name sounds so cool, neuro-emotional intelligence, you know, but then again, it also sounds like a niche or a class kind of a practice, you know, and I'm just wondering what kind of training is it? Is it a fun training? Is it an interactive training? Is it academic and a serious kind of a training for somebody who may be interested in all of this? I want to know how it goes. Yes.
It is more or less transformational. And when we say embodying, there are a series of activities. So for example, like I said, in our Neuro-EIT, we just don't start training. In fact, even the first 1 hour, there is mindfulness journey. There is a meditation that goes on to bring all of you, as Dr. Sigal will say, bring all the mui, your me and your we. We bring all the mui present in the training room. Get to create the ambience so that there is safety. Because when you look at your parasympathetic nervous system, the polyvagus, your vagus nerve, if you create space for the body, the human being totally to feel safe, to explore, it is able to learn, because through a neuroception, your body wants to feel safety within, so it can allow anything to come in and go in. So there are a series of activities. That is what, like I suggested, we prepare you for 7 days. We prepare you for 7 days. Activities, exercises, you journal, you do a lot of stuff. Then on the 2 days of the training, you are taken through transformational embodied training. It's not cognitive. You are already cognitive. We already raised in that environment. So we bring you to know what are the languaging, the emotional languages of the heart. We bring you to recognize what are the emotional languages of the gut. Even with me being a mBIT master coach, I stretch it to take you to what are the emotional languages of your pelvic. What are the emotional languages of your autonomic nervous system? And it's not just going, it's not hearsay. There are exercises. For it, one of the basic exercises, for instance, is breathing. How many of us know that if you intentionally go through simple breathing in and breathing out for even 6 seconds, breathe in 6 seconds, breathe out 6 seconds, there is that which it does to your emotions. Then we take you through the other forms of breathing. Reb, one of the most beautiful experiences I share in neuro-emotional intelligence is the ice bath. And I said, this is something you can simply do in the boardroom where temperatures are so high. You just walk into the washroom. If you have your simple small towel, just dab the water, squeeze it, and put it just on your face, not cover the entire head. And that alone, because it connects straight to your vagus, straight to your heart and everything, it shapes. Then also we encourage putting a coach in your boardroom meetings, the strategic meeting, put a coach in there, because a coach is able to trace, that's what we call it, neuro-linguistic. It's able to trace the languaging that stems from your neurology. So they can say, no, this one is coming from here. If the person an mBIT coach, when you speak, I am able to adduce which part of your brain is basically speaking now, because they all speak. All the 3 brains have their definite languaging. So it is in the training that you are able to understand how they speak emotionally. So if you are a leader, you are able to understand that in meetings, when my team are talking like this, I may know and sense the current, which of the emotions are even emerging. So it is transformative, it is hearty, it is embodying, it is even quantum, because it is in that training we are able to bring, you know what 𝗪𝗱𝗱 says, that now critical decisions in their lives, they don't make it before the face of figures. They don't do it. They do it instinctively. But if you don't even know how your gut does that emotionally or how it feels, how then can you explore that your quantum possibility?
Thank you, Scofray. If you just join us, you are late to the party, but we've been talking about emotional intelligence. We've been talking about how emotions can help us in making effective decisions. I want to just extend the conversation to all our audience. If you have any question, we'll take some few questions before we bring the session to an end. We've done exactly 1 hour. I know for most of you, time flies so quickly, but yes, we've been on for 1 hour already. So we just want to take some questions or comment or any contribution quickly across the table. If you have something to share, just kindly use the icon, raise your hand. We call on you too. Okay, so I see Peaches, yes, kindly unmute and speak to us.
Hi, thank you everyone. Good evening as well. Good day, whatever time it is around the world. Firstly, I want to say thank you very much. I'm so glad that I saw this link in one of our groups on WhatsApp, and I'm glad I attended. For me, this is something that is just very necessary. Like you said, you know, emotional intelligence, we have 3 brains, right? And I really appreciate in regards of it's crucial for people to know how one affects the other, you know, and be able to recognize so they can, if you like, know how to manage themselves a lot better. Unfortunately, I work with young people here in the UK, in fact, worldwide, I can say that now. Yeah, so I work with a lot of the young people, and unfortunately, many of the young people I work with have got the labels, you know, of, you know, hard to reach, for example, you know, and somebody who also I believe in the power of sharing for other people to learn. So, or other people to understand they're not alone, and in regards of overcoming certain experiences. And for me, I believe there are a lot of adults, professionals as well, who unfortunately are on autopilot and have been moving in autopilot for numerous years, and unfortunately are not necessarily in the know of some of the damage that they cause or have affected in other people's words, just because in some way a lot of people like to enable, unfortunately, or are just not recognizing that, you know what, you're being led via trauma and not necessarily led with your emotional intelligence. So this is fundamentally critical work, and I'd love to network with you all closer, because I feel like this needs to be on a bigger scale, worldwide as well, but definitely a thing that everybody needs to be included and get the access to this kind of information. So I just want to say thank you once again.
Thank you so much to Peaches, and happy to hear of the impact you're making in the life of those young ones out there. That's an encouraging one, yes. And we're happy to partner with you as well on this journey. Very excited. Thanks for the contribution. Right. We're taking questions, we're taking contributions. I understand there's a question on the chat, so we invite you, Richard. Can you take that question for us, please?
All right. So this is a question. You only have to do the training to be able to leverage this intelligence, or there are other alternatives?
All right, sure. So that's to you, Reb and Scof.
So I would say the short answer is no, you don't have to do the training. There is the book, as I mentioned, there's certainly mBraining, written by Susie Lewin-Oka. And reading a book, of course, is accessing one particular intelligence in order to drop down into the body and really get how important this is. And then, more importantly, have it in the muscle, be able to use it out there to your benefit and benefit of everyone around you. Then going on a training with someone like Scofray is a really great thing to do for yourself, because you then have the skills and the competence as well as just the knowledge.
So the resources are in multiples. You can do the book, and then we can do also training and also talking to people, coaches, having coaches on the journey as well. Thank you, Reb. Scofray, you want to add to that? Otherwise, we'll take our last two questions if there is any or contribution, and then we wrap it up. Okay, so I see their brilliance give more capacity to be whole, perfect, and complete in their personal and professional leadership. It supports them and supports everyone they interact with. Okay, thank you for that contribution. Okay, I see Reb typing the title of the book, so we can see in the comment section if you're in the, you could just go to the chat. You see the title of the book in there, and yeah. Okay. Any other question? Any other suggestion, comments, contribution? We're ready to take that.
Adam, before it escapes us, I owe gratitude to some professionals who took their time to go through our neuro-emotional intelligence training. I mean, somebody like 𝗵𝗫, she is an expert, an HR expert, and executive coach. She took her time to go through the training as we have designed it, and she said, Scofray, this is what the world needs. There is one gentleman, my trainer, also Wilbert. Wilbert also took his time to go through from the mBIT and the neuroscience perspective to say this is a novelty that the world has never had, and he was excited to make sure it comes out like we are sharing it now. And Reb also behind the scenes, the research says, Scofray, check this link. This is also here. Check that link. So the neuro-emotional intelligence training is. It's not a fluke. You don't have it on the street. Not even Google will give you that, because it took a lot of people, people with their guts, people with their knowledge and everything to pull it together. One lady in Thailand, she also was part of it. Mindy, a couple of others. And Edem, the good news I want to announce is that our neuro-emotional intelligence training is endorsed by the Institute of Commercial Management, United Kingdom. The academic body had to sit on this training to peruse it to see that is this something that they can endorse. So when we facilitate any IT for any company, the certificate of participation actually comes from London. This should tell you that Ghana has got something that is globally needed. So it is up to us to tap into it and support management, support parents, support teachers, support HR, because everything about us, we are emotional beings that can think.
Thank you so much, Scofray. And as we've all been having this conversation, you can see that there's so much more to know. I was asking myself at the moment, are we having the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut conversation, all the multiple intelligence? How have we involved that in this conversation this evening? But it's been an exciting session. I think you've picked up new lessons, new knowledge from the session itself, and we've seen how important it is for us all to be involved in using all our multiple intelligence. If you miss out on the mBIT, understand it is multiple brain information technique. That's correct, right? Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, you missed the I. So integration techniques, because you are integrating all the multiple brains to your interest or wisdom in.
Okay, so mBIT is multiple brain integration technique. And that's what we understand. Reb is an expert in that. Scofray has taken also certification in that, and he's still on the journey. He's a transformational coach, and we've been blessed this evening to have them engage us in this conversation. I wanted to take the conversation beyond this place. You want to talk to your managers and your CEOs in companies of why this is important. If you're a parent or if you're even a child, you want to talk to your parents about how we can leverage on this to build strong and healthy homes. And whatever organization you are, just like we had Peach talking about how she's working with the youth and the young people out there, whichever community you are in, I think this is a relevant information and training for all our relationships across, be political institutions, social institutions, religious institutions, corporate institutions. This is very important for all of us. I just want to take your final words, both as Scof and Reb, especially for those who might have missed from the beginning, how important are emotions in making effective decisions. Your final words.
So my final words would be, I echo what Peaches said earlier on, that this is pivotal. This is where every wise decision begins and ends. And if we're going to set humanity on a wise course from here on in, then I highly recommend that we ensure that we're studying neuro-emotional intelligence, that we're using tools like mBIT or mBraining to be fully human and fully wise.
Thank you, Reb. Scofray, your final words.
I also want to say it is time. The universe is calling forth wisdom. If we look around us, the statistics are not good. The happiness index, we have declined. Stress index, we have declined. EI index, we have declined. Effective leadership, we are also declining. If you look at the globe, look at what is happening, it tells you we are declining. So we want to use neuro-emotional intelligence to be able to support our humanity so that the generation ahead of us can live that their greatest aspirations, inspirations, and the best the human being can bring to this creative space. So thank you all for making time to join us, and we may do this again another time. Edem, thank you for giving us a sterling moderation, and we salute you for the time. We are grateful.
Thank you all. So my name is Edem Damanka, an HR professional. We've been having a conversation on emotional intelligence, the role of emotions in effective decision making. I'm sure you've taken so much from this session. I learned that there are multiple brains that we work with, and we need to make sure that we align the intelligence and help us in making decisions. All the available data it's not enough just to look at the facts. Intuitions is important, and all the other intelligence we can think about. And they help us to make more sustained or sustainable decisions. It helps us to have transformational institutions and people, and we can shape behavior and mold behavior and get the best out of it. I think it's been a very insightful session, very, very interesting conversation. We want to keep going and encourage others to join us the next time we have a session like this. Thank you all for making time. All right, let's have a blessed day wherever you are. If it's night, if it's day, if it's noon, enjoy and have a productive weekend coming.